Building any business in the center of venture capital. I am Alex Edmonds, also known as SupremeRumHam on the internet, and this is the Building an Indie Business podcast. Alright, so for this episode, I got some ideas from the episode with Brendan. I talked about how the internet provides opportunities, and I want to go into detail about that for this episode. So, for this episode, I'm going to be talking about how things were before for certain industries, and then I'm going to talk about how you can do it now, right? So I'm going to be talking about how writing books, podcasting, music, art, buying and creating art, investing, learning, networking and jobs, movies. So yeah, that's let's get into it. Alright. The internet creates DIY opportunities. So for writing a book, you had to get a book deal, pay editors, have the not I was gonna say label, but the housing company. Oh, the publisher. Publisher's the word I was looking for. The publisher markets it. They take a cut of the profits, and you're making $1 a book, right? So now with the internet, you start a free blog, you collect people's email, you write the book on Google Docs, you edit it with Grammarly, you use Photoshop to create the cover, you sell it with Stripe checkout, Substripe, use Substack to distribute your stuff, and then you're a published author, right? You can do all that yourself, right? So then for podcasting, so before podcasting, you were on the radio, right? That was the pre-podcasting version of a podcast, and you needed $15,000 to start a radio station, right? So that's just to start. So now you can start a podcast for the cost of Caproni and a mic. Yeah. And then, Caproni's $20 a month, and you can get a mic for $30. So $50 for a month. Okay. So before with music, you got a record deal. You let the record company take 51% of everything, literally everything, and then you toured, right? And they covered all that, and you kept touring to make that money. So now you record, you use CD Baby, you get on Spotify, put your music on YouTube, you grow your audience, you pre-sell your tickets, and you perform wherever you sell enough pre-sale tickets, right? So that's how it is now. Okay. Before, for buying art, you had to be super rich, and that's about it, because you're buying paintings that cost $40 million. Like, not even someone who makes $1 million could be involved in art, right? Now you can buy fractional shares of famous art pieces. And I keep talking about art and mentioning art, and that's because I am writing my next revenue research piece about art. So you're going to hear more about it. Then there's creating art. And before, you were restricted by physical limitations. You had to use canvas, you had to use sculptures, painting on walls, and that's all you could do, right? And then you needed to be in a gallery to gain exposure, because before what you were doing was selling to your local community and hoping that people like walking by or would see your art, like it, and buy it, and that's how you supported yourself as an artist. But now with art, you can create art in different mediums. You can do Photoshop, you can do like 3D stuff, and then you can get exposure using online platforms, right? Social media, things like that. And then you can have people that enjoy your art support you through crowdfunding. So, every month they give you a couple dollars, and that's how you are able to focus on art full time, right? And then now with NFTs, you can get paid every time your art piece gets resold, which is something that didn't happen before. You'd only make money on the first sale, and then your art would keep getting sold all the way up to $44 million, right? Okay, so before with investing, you had to be accredited, and this is for like investing in companies, or in like startups. You had to be accredited, also known as Be Rich Already. So now, these startups can raise money through crowdfunding, and that allows people to invest like even $100 in a startup. So yeah, that's how things change for investing. So before with learning, you had to go to school, read books, and now you can learn through YouTube or blog posts. So a different way of learning. Instead of a professor teaching you, you learn from the person on YouTube, and instead of a book, you learn through blog posts. Okay. So before networking and jobs, you had to rely on your local community, and now anyone on the internet basically. So I just finished hanging out with Brendan, and I met him through MakerLog, right? And we actually met up in person, and he's been helping me a lot with all my stuff. So yeah, that's another one. Okay, so before investing in the public markets, you needed a broker, and your broker would invest the money for you, and then he'd let you make some decisions, but most of the decisions were made by him. And now you can download documents from a website of the different companies that you want to invest in. Download their 10K, their 8K. Look at their financial stuff and do the research yourself. Download an app and buy the stocks, right? You removed a layer of a barrier, right? And then finally, for movies needed financing, distribution, equipment, software, and now someone who wants to make a movie can create a trailer, use the trailer to create a crowdfunding campaign, use software to edit the movie, and distribute the movie through YouTube. I wanted to bring up these examples because this shows that there are opportunities on the internet that were inaccessible to people before, right? And these are perfect examples of things. Some of these things I've experienced myself, right? So writing a book, I've done that. The podcast, clearly if you're listening to this, I I've been recording things, right? Music, I'm helping my friend with his album right now. I'm researching art, right? Buying and creating art. Same thing with investing. Networking, I've experienced that too. Yeah, so there are opportunities for people on the internet to create their own stuff, right? The barriers are lowered for people on the internet, right? So I just wanted to point that out for people, so just in case they don't have the confidence to create their own stuff, or they think there are a lot of barriers. There aren't a lot of barriers anymore. Like $50 can get you somewhere on the internet, right? Because it cost me $0 to create the book. It cost me $30 to create the podcast. To help my friend with his album, that cost me $50. Buying art is a little different. Um, Creating art, I used to create t-shirts, and that cost me nothing up front. I had to pay the fees, but that was only after a sale happened. Investing, that's a small amount depending on, you could do it for $100. I'm serious. Learning things, so I learned how to produce a podcast. I learned HTML, CSS, web development. I learned Photoshop, all on YouTube. That cost me nothing, and I was able to create art, digital art, create the podcast, write a book. What else is there? Oh yeah, invest in the public markets. I do that using the internet too. Right, I find a company and that I want to invest in. I find an industry I want to invest in, and then I research it. I look for their financial information, and I compare between the top things in the industry, right, or the top companies in the industry, right? So I was looking at what is it called? Data centers, and I knew every company that was public involved in that industry, and I researched it, and I looked at all of their information, and I compared each company to the information I was looking at, and that's how I decided to invest in that industry. And I used Fidelity. I bought the stock, and it's doing pretty well. I should do an episode about my portfolio, but later. Okay. Yeah, that's I think my point got across. The internet creates DIY opportunities. Okay. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.